Spring has arrived in the high desert in the southwest of the United States. The temperature is about 70 degrees. The humidity is somewhere between 10 and 12%. And as you can see, the sun is very bright. I hope one of these days to convince ABI to hold one of its programs here in this beautiful country in the high desert of the Southwest. But today, I want to talk about two interesting cases that we can put in our bankruptcy toolbox. The first is from the Colorado Supreme Court. Yes, it is unusual for a state court to tell us something important about bankruptcy, but that's what we learned from Colorado. You see, there was a debtor who had defaulted on a mortgage before bankruptcy and received a bankruptcy discharge in the year 2012. Say 7 or 8 years later, the holder of the mortgage finally got around to trying to start a foreclosure. The debtor said, no, you can't do that because the 6-year statute of limitations has lapsed on the mortgage, and so it has just disappeared. The debtor's theory was based on the idea that the bankruptcy discharge automatically accelerated all of the debt on the mortgage. The Colorado Supreme Court said, no, you're wrong. Bankruptcy is not an automatic acceleration of the debt. Furthermore, the Supreme Court told us a mortgage or a loan cannot accelerate the debt. It's got to be done clearly by the holder of the mortgage. And because the mortgage had not been accelerated, the Colorado court tells us that the statute of limitations begins to run every month when a payment is due. Therefore, this debtor was not able to get out from under an otherwise valid mortgage. The second interesting case comes to us from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit in Chicago. And in this case, we had a defendant in a turnover proceeding who argued in the Court of Appeals that the bankruptcy judge made a mistake by using the preponderance of the evidence standard to determine if there was equitable ownership in the debtor. The theory for this defendant was that it should be clear and convincing evidence. And to that point, this defendant pointed to the law under the former Bankruptcy Act, which was superseded about 45 years ago by the adoption of the Bankruptcy Code in 1978. Circuit Judge Michael Brennan on the 7th Circuit was, unfortunately for him, required to go back and do a great deal of research going back 50, 100 years under the Bankruptcy Act. And he told us, in his opinion, that the law changed as of the adoption of the Bankruptcy Code. Although, under the Bankruptcy Act, it might have been the clear and convincing evidence standard, he said that's no longer true for most circumstances under the Bankruptcy Code. And his holding tells us that, except if the Bankruptcy Code says otherwise, perhaps with respect to, say, actual fraud, the preponderance of the evidence is all that you have to show in a turnover proceeding or in a dischargeability proceeding. It's not that used to apply almost 50 years ago. I am Bill Rochelle, the editor-at-large for American Bankruptcy Institute. I will return same time next week with another weather report and also something interesting from the world of bankruptcy. Until then, be well, stay safe. Good day.